Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Beth, founder of Powell, and I'm glad that you found us today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you can keep up to date with our content. So what do we have in store today? Today we're going to talk on the subject of how to stop eating when we're full. Several clients that I've worked with know what it feels like to feel overly full. You know what I'm talking about, that feeling where you've eaten so much food that the thought of food or you see a commercial of food is repulsive. They know what that feels like, but they're not quite sure what just fullness or feeling satiated might feel like. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How can we understand our fullness cues? So there's a couple things that might have led up to not being able to decipher hunger, full, or overly full. Perhaps it's our upbringing. A lot of us were taught as children to clear our plate no matter what cost, even if you were full. So if you were raised that way, that's going to pour over into adulthood and how you approach your eating. Or maybe you've been a lifelong dieter, so that can make it harder for us to also acknowledge fullness cues or fullness feelings that our body is trying to cue us into. Now understand that an inability to stop eating when you're full is not unnatural. It is not a lack of willpower or self-discipline. There is nothing wrong with you. Eating past fullness is probably stemming from some type of restriction that we have learned either in our youth or in our adulthood. So we have to take steps to get in cue with our body again and know what it feels like to feel full. So before we get into that, we need to understand what it feels like to feel hunger. So some people that I work with, they actually enjoy feeling hungry because they feel like that sensation helps them know that they're doing well on their diet because it shows that they're not overeating. But really, if your body is hungry, that's when you get those hunger cues. So one thing we really want to avoid is allowing that hunger cue to turn into an extreme hunger cue. Have you ever had a dinner plan, maybe a healthy dinner, you've already bought even all the ingredients, but you've been busy at work all day, so you haven't eaten anything. Before you even get home, you're so hungry, you go through a drive-thru to pick up something. The thought of going home and cooking, it's going to take too long, you need food now. That is extreme hunger. Getting to that point leads to us just making poorer choices in general. You already had something planned out, but you couldn't wait any longer because you were so hungry. So before we get to that point, we need to learn to start cueing in with our body. When it starts to give us small hunger cues, maybe we feel, you start to feel the grumble in your belly, or you just start to be thinking about food more than you were an hour ago, maybe even a little lightheaded. These are cues that your body is trying to inform you that it's hungry. So we need to take the time to stop, to listen to that cue, and to fill what our body is asking for. Now understand that it takes time to develop a healthy relationship with hunger cues. So as you start on your journey to intuitive or to intentional eating, don't give up. Even if you have those moments where maybe you didn't cue in with your body and you get to that extreme hunger and maybe it even led to binge eating, let go of those guilty feelings that come afterwards and just use that as feedback to listen in better next time. All right, my chronic dieters, listen up. You need to give yourself unconditional permission to eat. Yes, I am talking no restrictions, no food off limits. Why is this so important? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been like, I'm going to start my diet Monday morning and I'm going to do it until I reach my goal? Well, what do you typically do on Sunday night? Most people use that as their last meal, their last supper, and they go all out cheating and eating whatever they can. Or perhaps you have been dieting for a while, but you allow yourself one cheat meal each week. Well, maybe it's on a Friday night. What happens though after that cheat meal? That cheat meal sometimes turns into a whole cheat weekend. Because you've restricted yourself so much, you are worried in your subconscious, when am I going to get this food that I'm craving again when I'm under restrictions? So then sometimes it's all we can think about is, when is that next cheat meal? When can I have that next bliss food? So take time to start developing a relationship with no restrictions. As you start to cue in with no restrictions, You are going to be able to empower yourself over the food and eating rather than your calorie counting tracker having control over your food and what you're eating. You will gain control over your life again and start on that journey to healthy eating. As we learn to cue in with our hunger cues, we can start to learn into cue when we are full. So we'll learn more on cueing in with the hunger cues, but let's get back to how to know when we're full and how to develop a healthy relationship with that feeling. When we eat, especially in Western culture, we tend to always be in a rush. Maybe you tend to eat in your car on the way to work or on the way home. Maybe you eat in front of the television. So you're kind of just mindlessly eating and not really knowing when you're full until we get to that point where it's so full that we talked about earlier, that extreme fullness. So mindful eating. Take time when you're eating each meal to enjoy the food, to try to see if you can sense the different flavors, the different ingredients, whatever was used in the recipe, to try to pick those out. Also, with every bite, stop and place your fork or your spoon down. Yes, every bite. This is going to just help you to slow down and allow your body to cue in when it's full, so that way you don't get to that overly satiated feeling, but we can stop when we're actually just satiated and when we're full. So putting that fork down after each bite, taking time to maybe drink some water in between each bite, and taking time to enjoy the food rather than just gulping everything down super quickly. As you start to develop this mindful eating pattern, you're going to start naturally cueing in with those fullness feelings. So I encourage you to start this practice, maybe even with just one meal a day, of taking your time during that meal to start to see how your body is letting you know what it needs and when it needs you to stop as well. Thank you for joining us today. Again, make sure to hit subscribe at the bottom and turn on notifications so you can stay current with all of our content. My name was Beth. Don't forget to check out our website, pellwell.com, and until next time.